Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event.
Oh yeah!
Are you ready?
And now, coming live from Wrestling-News.net and presented by Spreaker, it's Main Event Madness. Madness Unleashed. You can call into the show by calling 305-600-4708 and tweet us during the show using the hashtag MEM Radio Live. And with that, here are your hosts for tonight, John Curry and Mark Madison. Alrighty, folks, it's Wednesday night. That means only one thing. Main Event Madness Radio is live. It's back. It's better than ever. Hope you guys are all having a great Wednesday night, Thursday morning, wherever the hell you are. Thank you for joining us tonight. We got a jam-packed show, including from WCW. Rob Kellum's his name. You knew him as the Stro. He's going to be here in less than a half an hour, so that's going to be an awesome interview. You know, Mark's earning his keep around here, that's for sure. 2 weeks in, and 2 quality interviews back-to-back, and we got an awesome one next week that we're going to talk to you guys about later on in the show. So, like I said, he's earning his keep around here, and without further ado, let me bring in my co-pilot on this little shindig we call Main Event Madness, Mr. Mark Madison. How are you, sir?
Feeling great, John. I got to tell you, that intro music is actually starting to grow on me. I know it was maybe a little critical at first, but, you know, I'm feeling the vibe. I'm getting into the mood of it. So, yeah, no criticisms here. Everything's good otherwise.
Sorry, I just got thrown off a little bit.
Oh.
Do you want to know who a buddy of mine just said is on the Tonight Show tonight?
No, who?
The Undertaker.
Get out. Was that advertised ahead of time?
What on earth? WWE Twitter account. Don't miss the hashtag Undertaker tonight on @Fallon tonight, 11:30 p.m. Eastern on @NBC. What on earth? Why? Of all people, why? I mean, I know kayfabe is as dead as can be, but. And I'm just going to their Twitter account, which, by the way, guys, if you guys want to follow us on Twitter, you can follow @TheMark Madison and @JohnMEMRadio, and you guys can stay in touch with us, which, by the way, if you want to talk to us tonight, use the hashtag MEMRadioLive. So, you got a little bit of shameless plugs out of the way.
Well, it's interesting that your friend had mentioned that. You know, and that kind of tied into something I was thinking about. You know, we script up what we want to talk about, we go through it, and then you're just side-swiped with something like The Undertaker showing up on The Tonight Show. It doesn't make much sense for the kind of guy that doesn't show up on stage because they keep the character all...
They keep him quiet.
So, to make sure to maintain kayfabe and keep him as this dark figure that doesn't appear when there's a memorial and doesn't appear when someone retires and those things... that they keep all that stuff off camera, that they're putting them on camera. I don't know.
Yeah, it said something about a lot of surprises tonight on, oh, wait a minute now. Sam Smith, Kurt Braunohler, I don't even know how to say that, and James McAvoy are on the... So what the hell are they talking about then? I guess he only... Oh, well, he did say on Twitter that some surprises showed up, so...
Oh, okay, well...
That's...
Stay tuned if you're a fan of Jimmy Fallon and Tonight Show.
I guess I'm going to have to stick around for that. I hated... Not hated, I didn't like... Well, then again, it's in between didn't like and hated Jay Leno.
Yeah.
But, nonetheless, we got off topic here, but we got a jam-packed show tonight. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, and this is very bad on my part, but there's a very valid reason for it also.
Okay.
So I'm going to have to ask for your forgiveness before I tell you what I'm going to tell you.
Uh-oh. All right.
I need you to steer the ship for the Rawsome moments this week.
The Rawsome moments?
The Raw highlights.
Okay. What would you need me to do, though?
If, I got a general idea. Basically, I wasn't able to see Raw, but I always have it recorded.
Okay.
So, about 2 o'clock this afternoon, I'm like, you know what? I never got around to watching Raw yesterday, I should skip through, it'd be done in like 2 hours, if that, without the commercials and the filler segment. So I'm like, you know what? Let's throw it on the DVR. So I go through the DVR. Sure enough, son of a bitch, it's not on there.
Oh, no.
YouTube is a beautiful thing. Which, by the way, guys, if you want to check out the show and you can't listen live, head over to youtube.com, and every show's on there, available almost immediately after every live show.
Fantastic.
See, there is a reason for that.
Well, you know what? I watched most of the show, and I think, unfortunately, I ended up kicking out during the Dean Ambrose-Tyler Breeze matchup. That was one of the qualifying matches.
That was the main event, right?
One of the tournament matches that have been set up. But we'll talk more about the tournament a little bit later on. And that was generally what I was watching. So while I know there was a huge build to the legacy of the Undertaker, and they were going to be paying respects and paying the rights or paying respects, yes, to the Undertaker and Kane, and that was the Wyatt family. And lo and behold, the Undertaker and Kane showed up.
That was the first segment that I saw from Raw this week, and I got to tell you, I had goosebumps the size of the Rocky Mountains. Those fans, that pop for the Brothers of Destruction was just amazing. And it died down, and then the Titantron kicked up, and the pop got even bigger, and then it died down a little bit, and then they came out, and the pop just blew the roof off the place. And it was just, it was awesome. And it was a great segment, too. Because it shows, a lot of people were thinking, what are the Brothers of Destruction done? Was that their way of writing them off? Or are they just too old to face the Wyatts? Yes, I've actually saw some people saying that. So, it's a good way to answer it, but, and we'll touch on a little bit later on what happened on SmackDown, spoiler alert, has a lot of people very disappointed with the direction of this storyline. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, fill me in.
It's SmackDown. Nobody knows. Spoiler alert. If you don't want to listen, either mute your speakers, or if you're listening on demand, fast forward a good 30 seconds to a minute. The Undertaker came out and confronted Bray Wyatt on SmackDown, and Bray Wyatt challenged the Brothers of Destruction to face any two members of the Wyatt family in a tag team match at Survivor Series.
So now the Undertaker is going to be the one that chooses who he wants to face?
That was the way I read it. I don't know if they get to pick or if Bray Wyatt gets to pick. But either way, that's such a letdown from the excitement people had about who's going to team with The Undertaker and Kane, 4-on-4 Survivor Series, traditional match. And it had been ages since we had one that had a really, really good story with it.
Right.
But now it looks like we're just going to be getting a standard 2-on-2 tag match instead.
Even if they had built it up as being just a handicap match, as a 4-on-2, with traditional Survivor Series rules, it could be, just that, an insurmountable lead, and maybe it's a 4-on-2, and then maybe Kane's taken out, and it's The Undertaker having to fight back and fight through. That could have worked too, if they really wanted to. Fans putting stuff in different memes, is Sting healthy enough to return? And that idea of could he have been part of it? I don't know.
And the big one
could the best idea.
Could have finally been the time for Finn Balor to come up.
Yeah.
That was the big one a lot of people were looking for, was to see the Demon of Death Valley, the Demon Kane, or the Devil's favorite demon, if you really want to go moniker-wise here, and the Demon Finn Balor, just to see the three of them, and then to see an iconic image of Undertaker and Sting, same place, same time. We've had Sting in WWE, but we have not had Sting, Undertaker, same place, same time. That, even if we don't get the match, that visual is something that will satisfy decades of fans.
Well, the problem is, if anybody, anyone of the listeners that might have watched WCW, it's so far removed, but back when The Undertaker was back in WCW, he and Sting, crossed paths, but it's where Sting was this iconic figure already. He was the main event, and The Undertaker was just Mean Mark, and he really wasn't, wasn't what he is now, right? So, no one would easily have said, oh, wow, yeah, they've been in the ring together, but it's at a different place a long time ago. Their careers have kind of spanned and really gone in a different place since then. So,
and it wouldn't satisfy people anywhere near as much as seeing the icon Sting or the Vigilante, whatever the hell he's called in WWE, and the Phenom, The Undertaker.
Yeah.
To see the dual gimmicks, so to speak, because they are, in some regards, mirror images of each other.
Mm-hmm.
Mirror images, yet very different at the same time. But hey, it still could happen. Maybe this is a red herring. Maybe the show's next week. Something happens, and because is next week go home?
Next week would be...
Yeah, it's to go home already. Wow.
16th?
Yeah.
So, yeah, if it's the 22nd, it would be.
This month is flying by.
Oh, God, tell me about it.
You got a lot of Christmas shopping to do.
But staying out of certain stores. If I can avoid it.
I went Black Friday shopping once, and I'm probably not telling you anything you don't already know, but Toys R Us on Black Friday it very well may be the equivalent of hell on earth. I went with an ex-girlfriend it was about 5-6 years ago now, and she was adamant that she wanted to go for her niece and nephew, and it's like, whatever, sure. So we got there, I swear to God, we got there at 9:45, and we didn't get out of there until 4 a.m.
Wow.
Up one aisle, down the other, up one aisle, down the other. Every nook, every cranny, every corner, every turn, every gondola or display, and every which way they could turn you, they turned you.
Yeah. Sorry, have we deviated from the Rawson moments?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay. You've asked me to steer the ship, so I'm trying to put us back in the water and not kind of on dry land.
But hey, every good trip has some good conversations to it.
It does.
But so this was the second week in a row, and I wanted to touch on this last week, and we never got around to it. This is the second week in a row without John Cena and without Randy Orton. Actually, I think it's a little bit longer for Randy Orton, but I'll just ask you straight up: do you miss him?
Yeah, I do miss him. I'm guessing by your silence you don't.
No, sending a tweet out.
Oh, okay.
I will say I miss Orton more than Cena. And I am admittedly a John Cena fan, but it's so damn refreshing. I mean, it's gonna get old and redundant very quick if we get Roman Reigns opening every single week, but it's so damn refreshing that Reigns and Ambrose, especially with Rollins gone, as much as I hate that he's gone, it's such fresh blood everywhere on the card now. As now the mid-card is the main event, and the low card is now going up to the mid-card.
Well, when you mentioned the Rollins injury, we thought, okay, it's, you know, he finished the match. He was able to tape it up. And then you go look at that video. Now, I've suffered an ACL, and I've torn my ACL, and I've torn my meniscus. So I know the pain that he's feeling. I can't imagine what he's thinking being where he was and the level that he's at and expected to get back to. The problem with anybody who's suffered an ACL tear, there's always that chance that it re-tears, even through rehab and re-strengthening it. And I'm sure a number of basketball fans, whether you're a Chicago Bulls fan and has seen Derrick Rose go through it, it can happen. And that's the sad part. He's under 30 years of age, and, you know, will he ever be the same? Because when he's so dependent on being mobile the way he is, it's a real shame. Like,
you know, in some regards, it's
the end, but
it's kind of similar to when Triple H tore his quad. I think they're arguably in a similar spot in the company. Yeah. Minus Seth Rollins isn't banging the boss's daughter, but
the problem with the knee is you can re-strengthen the muscles around it.
Yep.
But
therein lies the difference.
Sorry?
I was just saying, therein lies the difference, but go ahead.
Yeah, like you can strengthen the muscles around the knee, but you're still taking a ligament from a certain part of your, like, for me, without getting too gross, they had to take from my upper thigh, and they ended up having to transfer a ligament to that. So basically, it's almost like a ligament transfer. If we have any doctors listening, maybe you can verify some of the details to this, but that's just part of it, right? And 6 to 9 months of heavy rehab, and getting himself at the level that he was at, competing as many days a month as he was. It's a huge blow for them in some regards, but you know, the quad tear that Triple H suffered, yeah, it just blew out. But he still, you know, he had everything else. A tear of an ACL is different. I can only talk from experience, so I'm hoping that he can recover and he can be at the level that he's expected. It's not a blow to your head. You've got issues of concussions, but anyways, sorry.
No, you're fine. And I mean that. It's honestly, it's a 50-50. I mean, I know as good as doctors are nowadays, you know, it still could happen again, or he could get lucky and it doesn't. And there is still a small chance that he could come back and be leaps and bounds better than he was before. So, some football players have come back and been stronger before also. Stronger than before, I should say, also. So, but let's switch up a little bit. Actually, there's one more bullet point. We got a couple minutes left before we got to take our first commercial break. They teased at the top of the show that Reigns joining the Authority. Could it happen? Do you think it should happen?
I think it could happen. And by the reaction by those in attendance, it felt like in part kind of a split crowd of those wanting it to do it by the yes chants that you could hear in the audience of people, please shake his hand. Please give us a reason to dislike. Like, we dislike you.
Give us a reason to care.
So
whether it's love or hate, just give them a reason. But they did a really bad job piping in the crowd reaction.
Yeah, they did.
I don't know if you caught that. Like, when Reigns was talking, yeah. But what do you hear behind it? Boo. I normally when they pipe it in, especially for SmackDown, you know, it's 95 to 99% covered up. This was just, you could hear the boos right behind it. Admittedly, yes, I am a Roman Reigns fan, but I was listening to see, because I heard that they edited the crowd. Which I don't like that they do that.
No.
But, you know, when they want their guys to get over, you know, Vince does it.
Interesting little factoid that fans might kind of recall. Back in the day when The Rock was conflicted and he was offered that option of joining Vince McMahon, I think he initially turned him down, and then he eventually turned and aligned himself with Vince. Did he not?
I do believe so.
So that would almost be like following in Family's kind of the setting behind him and what he needed to do to put himself over the top. I thought it was well played. I like the way Triple H set it up. You're not just doing this for you. You're setting up your children's children, and he left the cards out there. I still see something happening, even if it happens at Survivor Series. I mean, if they're going for an Ambrose Reigns collision course, I think that's where friendships end.
Mm-hmm.
Win or lose. I can't see somebody shaking their hand when you're losing the main event for the heavyweight title. There's animosity there.
Yep.
You know.
And I got to give a shout out to buddy mine, Rich Mogridge. I apologize, Rich, if I don't say your name right. He laid out a story plan, and I agreed with it a lot. He said, and this is directly coming from our chat on Facebook with Wayne. He said, here's the next 9 months. Cesaro eliminates Roman on Raw this week and then loses to Alberto Del Rio, who loses to Dean in the tournament finals. So Dean's your world champ, except here comes Triple H to announce that Dean isn't the world champ, and he has one more match against Roman Reigns, who changed his mind and accepted his offer. Roman wins and becomes the Authority's new guy. Dominates the next 6 months until Sheamus cashes in at last minute and then wins the belt. The Authority turns on Roman. Authority starts to beat down, and bam, Seth makes the save to a huge pop. Thus, you could even do that try to lead into Survivor Series or something, and you get the Authority versus the Shield. He didn't say that part. I added that, but
okay,
I could see it definitely. And I think turning Roman is a better option at this point than turning Dean Ambrose. I think turning Dean Ambrose would be a colossal mistake, and I think we touched on that last week, if I'm not mistaken.
We could have.
But give me 1 second here, sir. So let's switch gears up here a little bit. Vince McMahon, really quick here, guys, is notorious for changing his mind on who he wants to support and who he doesn't want to support at the drop of a dime, at the flip of a switch. Apparently now, Vince's latest target to not support is Sasha Banks.
Okay.
1 second. You son of a...
And why is that?
This is why you write your notes down and you don't have your notes online. Because web browsers crash. And you do not have what you wanted to say. Da-da-da. Bear with us, folks.
No problem.
It's live radio.
Maybe you want to go to commercial?
Nope, we're good. Apparently it's the report mentioned a lot of it, her frequent activity on her Tumblr page, interacting with WWE fans and sharing a lot of their comments. A lot of the comments are just fans sharing their support for the NXT Divas Champion, or the former NXT Divas Champion, I should say. There's one particular comment that's generating interest and talks about Vince McMahon's perception of Banks. Quote unquote, all the marks and smarks will look up and shout, "We want Sasha," and Vince will look down and whisper, "No." So basically what I think it stems from is Sasha agreeing with the fans' perception, and Vince didn't like that.
Okay.
And she said, couldn't get the exact thing up, so, but, I mean, it is worth mentioning that since she was promoted to the main roster, she's been basically a glorified valet for Team Bad. But I don't know. Gotta love live radio. That's all I can really say. But all right, guys. So coming up in just a couple of minutes, we do have with us Rob Kellum, who was formerly known as the Stro in WCW. He's coming up here next on Main Event Madness Radio. We thank you guys for joining us on this November 11th. Make a wish, guys, but why you gotta make a wish? If you're gonna wish for an awesome podcast, your wish has already been granted because you're listening to Main Event Madness Radio. I tried for that one. It didn't flow as easily as I wanted it to. But nonetheless, guys, we will be back in a few minutes, and more than likely, we will have the Stro with us. So stick around, guys. Main Event Madness Radio. We are live, and we'll be back. From the associate producer of The Wrestler, and in the tradition of Joe Franklin and Ed Sullivan variety talk shows, Evan Ginzburg's Legends TV features an eclectic mix of legendary million-selling musicians, indie artists deserving greater exposure, and colorful pro wrestlers. Co-hosted by Steve Ludwig of Classic Pop Culture Radio, the show airs live every Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern at MadhouseTV.com and LegendsTVNYC.com. Martha Wash, Crown Heights Affair, Lanny Poffo, Nicole Bass, and other legends have joined us. You missed the birth of your mother and father. Don't you dare miss Evan Ginzburg's Legends TV. So you decided to check out Main Event Madness, and now you want to know how you can get the latest news about the show, the hosts, guests, showtimes, and more? Well, the answer's simple. Facebook. Head over to facebook.com/maineventmadness and be a part of the hundreds who have already liked the page and are the first to know everything you could ask about Main Event Madness. Facebook.com/maineventmadness, the official Facebook page for Main Event Madness Radio. Life's about working. Life's about progress. Why not put them together? Well, we did. Working Progress is here, the Fans View podcast. Matt Brees and Mike Rooker take the latest news and rumors in the world of pro wrestling and added some NFL and more, and add a fantasy spin to it, and you get Working Progress every month, only on MEMnetwork.wix.com/home. From the ashes of our old website comes a fresh new face from Main Event Madness. MEM Network is here. Check out all of your favorite episodes of Main Event Madness, Working Progress, Wrestling's Rope Break, and Evan Ginzburg's Legends TV. More shows to be announced in the future, but check out MEMnetwork.wix.com/home, where the madness runs wild. From the associate producer of The Wrestler, and in the tradition of Joe Franklin and Ed Sullivan variety talk shows, Evan Ginzburg's Legends TV features an eclectic mix of legendary million-selling musicians, indie artists deserving greater exposure, and colorful pro wrestlers. Co-hosted by Steve Ludwig of Classic Pop Culture Radio, the show airs live every Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern at MadhouseTV.com and LegendsTVNYC.com. Martha Wash, Crown Heights Affair, Lanny Poffo, Nicole Bass, and other legends have joined us. You missed the birth of your mother and father. Don't you dare miss Evan Ginzburg's Legends TV. So you decided to check out Main Event Madness, and now you want to know how you can get the latest news about the show, the hosts, guests, showtimes, and more? Well, the answer's simple. Facebook. Head over to facebook.com/maineventmadness and be a part of the hundreds who have already liked the page and are the first to know everything you could ask about Main Event Madness. Facebook.com/maineventmadness, the official Facebook page for Main Event Madness Radio. Life's about working. Life's about progress. Why not put them together? Well, we did. Working Progress is here, the Fans View podcast. Matt Brees and Mike Rooker take the latest news and rumors in the world of pro wrestling and added some NFL and more, and add a fantasy spin to it, and you get Working Progress every month, only on MEMnetwork.wix.com/home. From the ashes of our old website comes a fresh new face from Main Event Madness. MEM Network is here. Check out all of your favorite episodes of Main Event Madness, Working Progress, Wrestling's Rope Break, and Evan Ginzburg's Legends TV. More shows to be announced in the future, but check out memnetwork.wix.com/home, where the madness runs wild. Alright, folks, we are back. Main Event Madness Radio, November 11th edition of the broadcast. We thank you guys for joining us tonight and taking time out of your Wednesday nights to hear what we have to say. And, you know, Mark is earning his keep this week. I talked about let's try this again. Talked about it at the top of the broadcast. He's brought us another quality interview. And at this time, I'm going to bring on Mr. Rob Kellum. You guys knew him as the Stro. If I could talk today, that would be fantastic, but it's not looking like that's going to happen so far. So first off, sir, like I was just saying to you off air, thank you very much for taking time out of your night to come hang out with us and to chat a little bit.
My pleasure. Thank you guys for having me.
So, for anyone more recent with Rob's work or with the Stro's work, he has kind of reinvented himself too. So what you might have seen back towards the latter half of WCW was more of this aristocratic type. He would play in an orchestra, he would play the piano, he would be, this very highfalutin but character with a real close family lineage. And I've had the pleasure to talk to Rob before, and the fun part is his story and his life and his tales of what he's interacted with and what he's come across. Pretty remarkable. Maybe for those that aren't as familiar, you can share a little bit about your background and where you've come from and how family and history in wrestling is actually, it was almost like right under your nose and you didn't see it.
Well, it's been a journey. It's been an incredible run. I go way back amateur wrestling experience, UWFI, which were competitors were Pride Fighting in Japan. My break into the business, Gene Anderson, Ivan Koloff, and Nelson Royal broke me in. Gene Anderson, one half of the Minnesota Wrecking Crew with Ole Anderson and Lars Anderson, and later on with the addition of Arn Anderson. Nelson Worrell, one of the greatest junior heavyweight champions of all time, another student of Stu Hart, Canada. And then you have Ivan Koloff, who former WWF heavyweight champion back in the day with Bruno Sammartino, and multiple World Tag Team champions in NWA, guys like Don Kernodle, Nikita Koloff, just all around. Three of the very best in the business that broke me in and paved the way for what lied ahead. And later on in life, finding out, through some motivation from Dusty Rhodes and my friend William Regal, that through my grandfather, I found out that I was related to the original Gorgeous George. He was my granduncle. And my grandfather were amateur boxing buddies back in the day before he broke into business. So, I carried on. I started to carry on the family legacy through the name Gorgeous George III, which I traveled the world basically with that deal in honor and retrospect to him. And that which led me to WCW, where I became the Maestro. And the rest, as I say, was history there. And I'm always evolving, always changing. A lot of the greatest characters and personas, which I hate the word character because we live it every single day. I'm involved in TV and film as well. It's like, you portray a character in a film, and you're on set, and when it's done, you're done. But with wrestling, we live what we do. We live our gimmick. We live our personas 24/7, 365 days a year. And the old saying goes, art imitates life. Well, he couldn't get any better than my deal. and now they're I understand they're making a film after Gorgeous George, which is still incredible to this day. And you know, I got goosebumps when they inducted Gorgeous George to the Hall of Fame, and even meeting people through the years that knew him, like the late James Brown, who I did the pay-per-view with in WCW, if you recall, and guys like Luthez and Harley Race, who knew him, and it was just amazing how much influence he had on guys like him and them and Muhammad Ali, and transcending from wrestling throughout the whole entertainment world. I mean, and to know that I'm kind of being the innovator, kind of like he was back in the day, and doing what I'm doing now, which I'm doing the whole Papa thing now, is I pretty much took the crazy side of Maestro and got crazier with old age. I'm just kidding. But yeah, you always evolve. You always change. Life is all about evolving and changing. I mean, you look at Triple H, look at The Rock, look at Stone Cold, look at Undertaker. You know, they're a lot different now than they were years ago when they started doing their deal. So, and because they evolved with life, they changed with the times. And I'm always evolving, always changing, and you know, that's who we are. I mean, that's the part of nature, part of life. And so I think wrestling should, you know, like it has been, it's been evolving, and the matches you see nowadays are a lot different than matches years ago, where you grab a hold like a headlock or an armbar, you know what I mean? And then now we're doing the incredible things in the ring, and some of the greatest athletes in the entire world are professional wrestlers. So it's always evolving, always changing, and goes back to what I'm saying before. Art imitates life.
Well, some of the best actors, and maybe you can dispute this whether, and if you feel so, but some of the best actors, really, when we talk about film actors, the character actors really embed themselves in the role. And I think of like Daniel Day-Lewis, where he completely transforms in order to live it. So just like you're saying, you live it every day. How does it not become believable if it isn't imitated or worked on every day and every nuance to make it successful?
You hit the nail on the head. Believability. A lot of your great actors that stand out from the rest is due to the fact that they make everything they do. They live their character. They make everything believable, because in order for others to believe in your character or in yourself or what you do in the ring, rather, you have to believe it first. And if you believe what you're doing, then everybody else will follow suit, because they will see it through your work and do what you do. And with film, I mean, doing a film is just like a wrestling match. You know, you have to pinpoint, fine-tune the little things, because you have to believe in everything you do. You have to be passionate about everything you do to get across and get to those people. I mean, the one biggest seller through entertainment, through wrestling, through life is emotion. And you want to bring out that emotion in every fan, everybody in the theater, and everybody in those seats watching a wrestling event. If you can't bring out the emotion, and you can't bring the people into your world, then what's the point? That is the goal of everybody, to bring them to your world. And no matter if they cheer you, whether they boo you, you make them laugh, make them cry, the bottom line is they believe in you because you believe in yourself.
Now, you pretty actively watch today's product, would you not say?
Absolutely.
Okay. Would you feel that there are characters today where that believability is transparent, where it's, you know how you live the character and you make it evident because you work so hard at it? Do you feel that there could be a point where there's characters, and you don't have to name characters, but some of the things you see on television where they're just filling time and not filling character, they're not really trying to build or develop it?
Well, it goes back to what I said earlier before. Some stand out more than others because of the fact that they're believable and people identify with that. And,
right.
And the best personas are an extension of their own self. That's why they're more successful, because they got their own self invested into it. I mean, take Bray Wyatt, for example. The guy's phenomenal. He's amazing in the ring. And one of the best personas that I've seen in pro wrestling in a long time. And just incredible.
It's almost like trying to watch Cape Fear all over again.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah,
But
whether it's
he
Robert
lives
De
it.
Niro's version or another, right? So,
Right, right. I mean, he lives it. It just he breathes life into that persona. I can't even imagine nobody doing Bray Wyatt other than Bray Wyatt. You know what I mean? It's
yeah.
incredible.
Now, there's been some talk, and maybe you can help us out a little bit. You did make mention of it because of the family lineage to Gorgeous George. Talk of a movie coming out. Your thoughts on that? Is it true? Would you see that as being something you would have liked to take a part in, or?
I would be honored. I would absolutely be honored because I take the lineage very seriously and a lot of pride. And I mean, the guy, he was a great man, full of personality, and a lot of people was inspired by him throughout the world. So yeah, I mean, I think it's cool. It's really cool, and I mean, I must have watched Alias the Champ I don't know how many times with Henry Winkler, if you recall, back in the day. So yeah, I'm, if they asked me to, if they were to ask me to be a part of it, I'd be more happy to. I mean, it'd be a big honor.
So we had the chance to chat prior to you and I. We actually had an interview a few weeks back, and we covered a whole bunch of different topics though too. And what has changed in your life, and what is going on now that maybe we didn't touch upon that you'd like to be able to share with everybody else? And because trying to get a hold of you because you're so busy is a challenge. So what would you say is going on now, or fans could look forward to seeing for the show coming up?
Oh, well, I just became UPWA heavyweight champion.
Congratulations.
So good. Thank you so much. I'll be making my first title defense this Saturday in Parsippany, New Jersey, at Parsippany High School. I'll be on the show. Jim the Anvil Neidhart, the Boogeyman, formerly WWE, and Robbie E. of TNA Impact will be there. Should be a great show. I just did a movie. I don't know if I mentioned to you before with Bill Goldberg. They'll be out next year called Checkpoint with William Forsythe, Fred Williamson, Kenny Johnson from Sons of Anarchy, Mindy Robbins, all-star cast. The trailer, you can view the trailer now on their website at checkpointthemovie.com. I got a movie premiere November 21st called The Hollow Oak in Thailand Hall in Wilmington, North Carolina. It's kind of like, it's similar to the movie about The Conjuring, by the witches, and I'm one of the witch hunters in the film. I'm also the choreographer behind the scenes for the witches fight scenes, where I must say it's pretty intense. If you like scary movies, you'll definitely love that one. And November 28th, I'll be back in WrestleCade at Winston-Salem, North Carolina, for that deal. And my dad just survived a heart attack and a stroke. He just got back home from the hospital. He's doing much better. I'm really blessed that the Lord was looking out for him. Oh man, but yeah, things are happening. I just did a episode that we're airing coming up on It's Supernatural. Sid Roth's Supernatural TV series as well.
Okay.
So yeah, things are just rolling, man. Just getting right. I'll be making my return to Kansas, Topeka, Kansas, December 12th. In Topeka, Kansas. I haven't been there since my days at WCW, so I'm looking forward to back to Kansas and all that. And so, just keep rolling, keep moving on, and between the TV and film world and wrestling and what have you. So things are rolling.
Fantastic. Was there anything else that you wanted to help us, or maybe make fans aware that they wouldn't normally know, or maybe can look forward to, say, shortly from Papa Stro?
Well, I mentioned a few things already.
Something that might be happening within, 15 minutes?
15 minutes. Oh, yeah. Well, WCW Retro, we're having a Starrcade special this month, making a Starrcade tribute to all the matches in Starrcade and all the happenings. It's 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on VOCNation.com, and take callers in, and some of the guys and gals from VOC Nation join in time to time and give their views feedback. So it's always a good time, and look back in retrospect on the good old days of WCW/NWA.
That was a time of wrestling which, unfortunately, a lot of fans today wouldn't be able to see unless they had to search it up. But really, I think if fans today really try and make an effort to try and pick up and watch a match, whether it's a Billy Robinson or somebody throughout generations, and then you lose track of your time, and then you notice that you've been watching videos of guys in the NWA for years and listening to not just a Jim Ross, but a Gordon Soley, and the history is so important. It really has set the foundation for where we're at today. Your thoughts?
Oh, yeah. Rich in heritage, rich in wrestling tradition. You mentioned Billy Robinson. A funny story one time. I was at a wrestling convention, and I was talking to Billy Robinson and Danny Hodge. And Cornette comes up to those guys and points at me and said, "Look, guys, he's a shooter." And they all got in the amateur wrestling stance. I'm like, "Oh, gee, thanks, Jimmy." You know what I mean? He's going to stretch me. But yeah, those guys I learned a lot from. Back to the shooting days I did with the amateur wrestling and the MMA and pancration and everything, and it's so much knowledge there. And looking back, I mean, it's like it's a wrestling encyclopedia basically with those guys. I mean, they've been there and done that. So much history behind what they do. It's awesome.
We really want to thank you again, Pop Stro, for your time. The fact that you've been able to come in on really setting this up and got such a busy schedule and things coming up. We do hope that you'll be able to come back, maybe keep us up to date on anything else that you'd like to maybe share with us in the future. It was a pleasure for us. I'm thinking John had fun too. John,
Absolutely.
are you there somewhere?
Yes, I am.
It's a real history lesson from somebody that not only respects what he does, but has such family ties to what he does that it becomes evident in everything else, right? He just so knowledgeable, and it's an education like it is hopefully for us every week.
Well, thank you guys for having me on, and anytime you guys want to have me back, I mean, please let me know. It's been a real pleasure, and if I got some events or film, TV, wrestling, anything up you guys' way, I'll definitely let you know for sure.
Fantastic.
Awesome
Thanks
stuff.
again.
Thank you. God bless.
You
Take
too,
care.
man. All right, guys. That was the Stro, the Maestro in WCW, Rob Kellum, however you want to refer to him. Awesome job there, Mr. Madison.
No problem. What we didn't get a chance to mention, and it's something that I would share with you now, because it just, unfortunately, he would be repeating himself from what we've talked about. But if you see him now, he's referred to as Papa Stro, and he's got this character that, if you're familiar with Terry Funk, he said he's taken nuances from the old crazy Terry Funk, and he's just opened up, and I think he's got a branding iron, and it's just darker, and it's more rustic. But it's more contemporary to what he's living now, so...
And, like you guys said, you gotta evolve, you gotta try to stay fresh in people's minds, try to keep up with everybody, and, you gotta be willing to change. And, it was great hearing from him, and, it is awesome to be able to chat with somebody that is so entrenched in so many different aspects of wrestling, of entertainment, and is so passionate about it. That's what makes the conversation so great, is when you talk to somebody who is leaps and bounds, over the moon, passionate about what they do.
Oh, no doubt.
But really quick here, as we're looking at 8:50 right now, about 10 minutes from now, actually in about 5 minutes, we're going to take another quick commercial break, and when we come back from that one, we're going to have Mr. Evan Ginzburg of Legends TV. Yes, of Legends TV. God, glad you're talking a lot tonight.
John, now,
Yes.
One thing we didn't talk about before we get to Evan is you went to a wrestling show, I believe, last week, and I went to a wrestling show last week, and neither one of us talked about that show with everybody else. Did we not?
I'll let you talk about yours first. Mine was kind of a mixed bag.
Okay. Well, If anybody does recall, last week we did have James T, the managing director of Smash Wrestling, on.
Yes, sir.
And we had, they had their This Is Smash 3rd anniversary event based out of Etobicoke. It was a really good turnout. But I got to credit James because when we got off the phone with him, everything was hunky-dory and everything was great. But there were some changes to the card that they were thrown for a loop for, and being the pros that they are, they managed to get huge replacements for who they had slated. So, due to visa issues, unfortunately, Pentagon Jr. and Drago from Lucha Underground weren't able to attend. So they were able to bring in Angelico and Jack Evans to replace them. And can I tell you, that match stole the show. It was the main event, but it was insane, and they really went to the nines that whole event. Real kudos to them. Mark Andrews was such a pro. I actually had a chance afterwards to conduct an interview with Mark in the cold because it was we're Canada, but no, it was cold.
Listen, I'm in New York and I'm not much warmer.
Talk quickly and. Maybe one day we'll be able to share that with you too. Event was really well put together, and I'm hoping that we can get on some more of the talent to share about it. But for a smaller venue, you get that intimate feel, and everyone was involved and support indie wrestling. That's what I say.
Absolutely.
And yourself?
Actually, there was one thing I did want to touch on before I got to that, and I wish I mentioned it at the top of the show. Just want to take a moment and wish every veteran out there a happy Veterans Day, and to thank all of you for your service and for protecting our freedom, and for going over there and giving up a lot of them giving up their lives, but giving up their time to defend us and allow us to have the privilege and the freedom to do what we want to do, such as a Main Event Madness podcast. And I know we talked about wanting to say something before we started the show. But yes, just wanted to give out a good thank you to all the veterans out there.
Yeah, so important. Here in Canada, it's Remembrance Day, and that was just it. We would wear a poppy. We would show that respect. We did talk about it beforehand, but, you had to get thrown for a loop for The Undertaker. And
I know.
Kind of deviated.
I know. It was my fault. I took the blame.
We brought it back.
I'm taking the heat for it. It's okay.
We brought it back, though. We brought it back, right? It all comes around.
Absolutely.
So, just to mirror your thoughts, thank you to those my grandfather served
All
for his
three of mine
country,
did.
fighting and defending in World War II.
Yep.
He's no longer here with us, but it was a real honor to know that, and the stories that I had heard, remarkable. I'll probably even share them with you someday afterwards, John.
Looking forward to hearing them. And to the same with me, I have 3 grandfathers. All of them have passed on, and all 3 of them were in the military. So, just like I said, a solid thank you to all of you. And without you guys, we wouldn't be this great nation, or in both of our cases, great nations that we have today. Now switching gears from that. Last Friday night was Northeast Wrestling's Prison City Slam here in Auburn. And like I said, it was a mixed bag. The good far and away outweighed the bad. The bad wasn't really bad, but I'll start with the good. I dropped $70 or so, $80 or so, but got got autographs from Matt Hardy, Jerry Lawler. I should know this. Matt Hardy, Jerry Lawler, Robbie E. And Mick Foley. I was about to be like, if I could remember, be like, my belt's 10 feet away from me. I could go grab it.
Was Mickey James advertised for that?
Mickey James was advertised. Magnus was there. Donovan Dijak was there. Matt Taven, part of Ring of Honor, one of their tag team champions, who's Northeast Wrestling's champion right now. So there was, there were a lot of names there I knew, which was nice, and some of them I didn't, but it's nice to be introduced to new names, instead of the same old John Cena's, Randy Orton's of the world. But the bad. And a lot of people got mad because the doors were supposed to open at 5:30. We didn't get in until about 20 to 6. And when we got in there, we were all told, whoever bought the $40 and $30 tickets got an autograph session with the talent. So we're in line for like a half an hour, and there was no autograph session. I mean, there was, but you had to pay for it. Mm-hmm. And the minimum was I think it was $15 for all of them. Robbie E was, I think, $5. But, I don't know, it was just a couple ways it was bad time management and bad advertising. When you advertise that the tickets get you autographs and then you have to spend a guy in front of me spent $80 on his tickets. If not, no, it was about $100 on the tickets because him, his wife, and his 2 kids. And he said he spent over $100 on the tickets. Plus, he had to spend another $35, plus almost another $90, I think he said, on these meet and greet packs with Jerry Lawler. Right. And then when we got in line and we were waiting to go in there, he was told he had to spend another $20 or $30 to get the autographs. Mm-hmm. And it was, I don't know, a lot of people were very dissatisfied that we were told we got autographs and we didn't. The show was supposed to start at 7:30. Show didn't start until 20 after 8. But it was, I don't know, like I said, the good definitely outweighed the bad. It was just some time management issues that a lot of people weren't happy with, and I don't think they were too happy with the turnout because they had 1,200 tickets and there was maybe 300-400 people there.
Yikes.
Still better than a TNA show. But
do you think the markup on those things were because they didn't sell the tickets, they were trying to make up the difference by charging for autographs?
Probably.
Right.
I was a little bit perturbed with it to begin with because I bought my tickets for the show and it was the second week of September and I didn't get my tickets till the end of October. So that, coupled with the whole autograph thing, I was just yeah, okay.
Was this their first event?
Their first event up here.
Oh.
Yeah, they've been around for about 20 years. In fact, they have an event, I believe it's this weekend, down in Connecticut, their 20th anniversary show. So, let your mind wander a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Sounds surprising.
I'm sure the owner, if I doubt he's going to listen anyway, isn't going to care for my comments too much, but it wasn't very nice when I met him anyway. So,
oh, okay.
I don't know if I'm coming off as being unprofessional or not, but I'd rather honesty than anything else. But on that lovely note, instead of the commercial break, I'd be very hard-pressed if I didn't bring on a man who is very well-spoken, a man who is in a hatred that borders on irrational for a number of WWE talents, including Vince McMahon, a man who was very eager to talk about this world title tournament that we have in WWE, and a man who you guys can check out each and every Saturday morning at 11:30 a.m., isn't it, Evan?
11 a.m.
11 a.m. Eastern on MadhouseTV.com and LegendsTVNYC.com. One of these days we'll get those down pat. At this time, I'm going to bring in a very good friend of mine. He's here every week, Mr. Evan Ginzburg, the associate producer of the Oscar-nominated film The Wrestler, host of Legends TV and Legends Radio.
That was probably the most beautiful intro I've ever gotten. Thank you. Thank you.
How you doing, Evan?
I'm good, and I was watching the title tournament the other night on Raw, and I had very mixed emotions as usual as to the WWE product. I was pleasantly surprised to see Cesaro with a exceedingly rare victory. That was pleasant to see.
Oh, and, stop it. You love the fact that he beat Sheamus.
I have nothing against Sheamus beyond the fact that, you know, he's lacking the charisma gene, and I think his push far exceeds his abilities. I think it has more to do with networking with Triple H and the right people at WWE. I mean, he's more than adequate in the ring, Sheamus, but there's just something missing. He's headlining the next Madison Square Garden card, which is beyond me. But what struck me the most about this tournament, if you walk up to anybody down the street, I'm not talking about the internet fan community, I'm not talking about the hardcore fans. I'm talking, you walk up to anybody who has a casual interest in WWE, who are they going to bring up? They're going to bring up The Undertaker, John Cena, Brock Lesnar. Who's not in the world title tournament? John Cena, Brock Lesnar, The Undertaker. So what does that tell you from square one? The world title does not mean what it used to mean. In fact, you could almost prove that point by Seth Rollins losing far more matches than he won, and on many cards not being in the main event, being in the secondary, you know, the co-main event or whatever you would call it, which is a very different way of doing business from what I experienced throughout history with WWE, WWF, Tri-WF. It was always built around the world champion, whether it was Bruno, Superstar, Morales, Backlund, Hogan. You know, the champion was always what the promotion ran around. And now to see a Seth Rollins lose time and time again, and to have a tournament with a lot of secondary wrestlers, I mean, what is Kalisto doing in a title tournament? Anyway, I don't mean to do all the talking. What's your take on this, guys?
Well, Evan, I think it's not just a heavyweight title where the champion loses a number of non-title matches. Wade Barrett would lose countless intercontinental title matches, and the U.S. champion would lose. I mean, it just seems like you build them up, and this is typical. This has been prototypical booking on the part of the company, it seems like the last couple of years, when it comes to their champions. They lose countless times when it doesn't matter, but they squeak out something when it does. And is it the same type of idea of booking? I don't know. But I don't think it's just a title. I don't know if they're... And as far as secondary, I almost hope that they're trying to build stars and develop stars and create that, because when you look at a guy like a Seth Rollins, who really, when it comes to the main event and the protected main event, really can steal the show. He really, for as disliked as he has and all that heat, is a tremendous performer.
Tremendous, no doubt.
Yeah. So when we look at that, and then that's what they need, is they need a person that can really sell it, like the Shawn Michaels did of the past, right? And maybe Seth Rollins is the new Shawn Michaels with how he competes and how he performs in the ring. But now who does that? Who's there to do it now?
If you saw recent, before his injury, obviously, Seth Rollins matches, he was wrestling John Cena for the U.S. belt on house shows. So the U.S. champion was pinning the world champion, which to me makes no sense whatsoever, you know, except that they're very short-sighted, and you know, they
think they're just afraid of
draw, and that was that.
Is it almost that they're afraid of having a heel win or close out a show?
I don't even. I'm not even saying the placement of the match matters all that much. They just would always put John Cena. I shouldn't say always, but the vast majority of times, Cena over Rollins, the older guy over the younger guy, the lesser champion, a U.S. champion over the world champion. And as an old school fan, I don't understand that, but maybe it's not meant for me to understand. Maybe my way of thinking is outdated, but I don't see how that's building a younger star. At some point, John Cena is a living, breathing human being, and his body will give out. And who's the next generation? That's going to replace guys like this. Undertaker's like 50 years old. They always go to the well until it's once too often. The Undertaker isn't always going to be there to headline or co-feature WrestleMania, and who's going to replace these guys? If you're really not building the younger guys the way you should.
I think, to your point, I think the real first glimpse of that'll be not WrestleMania 33, but I think WrestleMania 34. If my timing's right on that, that's going to be the first WrestleMania in over 25 years that won't have The Undertaker on it, and the first WrestleMania since he came back that'll have been about 5 years, 6 years without Brock Lesnar. And John Cena, if John Cena's a main eventer still by WrestleMania 34, I don't even know what I would think about that. But
what I would do with Lesnar, but again, I think old school booking, I would have Lesnar as an indestructible heel. Just beat everybody in his path, and then you have the young face, whoever they choose it to be. Most likely Reigns, it seems, but that would be a big deal, like the way they built up Goldberg as a face. He just beat everybody in sight. So if you had Lesnar just beat everybody, and then all of a sudden, the face, a long time into his run, like the way ROH does it, where the guy's champion for a good long time, and somebody beats him, where it would really, really mean something. I could see that. I could see that. I mean, unfortunately, what WWE does is they force someone down your throat, and the fans react very badly. Every time you have Ambrose and Reigns in the ring at the same time, inevitably the fans are cheering on Ambrose more. The WWE is just not listening. If the fans wanted somebody to be the next face champion, it seems to me they want Ambrose first and maybe Cesaro second, and they're certainly not giving Cesaro the push.
Evan, when you had mentioned about trying to build Brock as this indestructible heel, I think it becomes harder for them to do that because of the fan reaction of what he gets now. Because at 39, and you start wondering, his body tends to break down. Those are considerations. But then I think Paul Heyman once put it fittingly, and not to make a Santa Claus comparison, but the idea of not having him around as much, that mystique or idea of this big, massive attraction coming out, like they did with the old school booking when Hulk Hogan was defending the title on a major show, maybe once or twice a month. I'm not sure if it was typically more that he would do, but the level of expectation in the bodies of the guys now is a lot different from it was before. It's not just they can't sit on rest holds to try and capture the attention of a crowd. So when you look at everything that Ambrose or Rollins or even a Reigns, and the sacrifices physically they seem to be giving, to have that spectacle of the Phenom coming out once in a while, or Brock coming out once in a while, also tends to mix it up. No?
I agree. I'll tell you, I'm an old school fan. I've been watching since 1972. I've been going to shows since 74, and I mark out for Brock Lesnar. I mean, that match between him and The Undertaker the other week was tremendous, just tremendous. And it almost feels like a UFC match. It feels like a fight. It's so physical. And, this guy is like the last guy on planet Earth you just want to get angry at you, okay, as you're watching this. And, that's a guy I would pay a ticket to see, okay? And there's not a lot of them. Believe me, there's not a lot. And, I happen to like Reigns. I think Reigns always gives 110%. But, you can't force feed somebody. The fans, rebel against it. And I think the best thing they could do with Reigns is have him go another year or two without the belt and just keep putting on great match after great match after great match, which for the most part he does, until the fans actually begin to appreciate him. And, I don't understand what the timetable is. Vince always seems to have some timetable in his head. And, Reigns is going to come into his own at some point, and the fans will start to, even Cena, the fans who wake up 6 in the morning and hate Cena, you're never going to get them, but anybody who's the least bit open-minded will admit that in the past year or two, Cena has had a lot of tremendous, tremendous matches, and at some point, you give the guy his due. I mean, the guy's had some great, great matches. You're going to win over a certain part of the audience. And I think Reigns is just a little early still. Ambrose is there. And ironically, Cesaro's there. You got a whole section of people with Cesaro signs. I mean, why Vince is so against this guy is beyond me. I don't even grasp it, but... when somebody's over, they're over. Kevin Owens, the fans love the guy. He's over. Certain guys are over, and certain guys are never going to be over. That's it.
And I think they're right now, if they're looking for the next, the next big baby face. I mean, I think they're just holding on now because, and I want to get you guys' opinion on this. Seth Rollins, when he comes back next year, is going to be a massive babyface. Because, I mean, you go over the last couple months, I mean, there were still a lot of people hating him, but it was progressively transitioning week by week to more cheers and more cheers and more cheers, because you can hate the guy because he's, a slimy heel, but you also got to respect the fact and appreciate the fact that he's doing a good job, and respect the fact that, that he beat everybody.
Ironically, I'm sure that he was about to lose the belt, and he's going to come back stronger now. So I think you're right. I think he's going to be bigger and better when he comes back. He'll be fresher, and I wouldn't be surprised if they reunited the Shield. I wouldn't be surprised if he came back as a face. I wouldn't be surprised if he was a bigger star than when he left. I think had things been status quo, he would have lost the belt. And, you forget, guys like Ziggler were world champions, and they're like in mid-card hell, Sometimes these guys never bounce. The Miz headlined WrestleMania.
We try not to remember the dark period.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, it's like, your career could really plummet in WWE because these belts don't mean as much as they used to. So it's going to be interesting, to say the least, to see where it all goes. And I'll tell you honestly, as critical and cynical as I am about WWE, in the course of the 3-hour show the other night, there were several good matches. It was an entertaining show for the most part. I just don't think the end result, I just don't think the belt means what it did. I don't think that the champion's going to mean as much because, again, whoever wins it is not Cena, Undertaker, or Lesnar, who are clearly perceived to be bigger stars than anybody in that tournament by far. By far. Alberto Del Rio's a big star worldwide, but you wouldn't mention him in the same breath as Cena, Undertaker, or Lesnar, and nobody else. So, what exactly is this tournament? To be the fourth biggest star in the promotion, the fifth biggest star in the promotion? I don't quite see the importance of it. And ditto TNA. TNA's having a tournament. It feels like AWA at the end. It's like nobody cares.
Last thing anybody wants to be is a transition, like a go-between what they really want or what they think will be successful. And it's unfortunate because it's almost setting up guys for failure because they're not being put in a position where the idea is this is the direction we want to go to. We want to do with them what we did with what Ring of Honor did with Jay Lethal and his television title and that remarkable reign of like a year and a half where he faced everybody and that recently ended, but that it seems like they need to catch the new thing, the biggest thing. How are ratings? What's the response? And I think that's the problem is something slips, something needs to change. But why is that what that needs to change rather than trying to get behind it and really pushing it? So
well, why not just be humble enough to listen to your paying customers? Think about it. Somebody goes to a WWE house show. They're paying $125 ringside. Okay? Obviously, these people are passionate and care about this product. Somebody else might think it's nonsense, but they are passionate about this product. Who are they cheering for the loudest? Okay? Maybe I'm deaf, but what I'm hearing is Dean Ambrose. Okay? Dean Ambrose is kind of a Roddy Piper-esque character for 2015. I would say, with Rollins out and Cena maybe slowing down and Undertaker 50-ish and Lesnar on a part-time schedule, I would give this guy a chance. It seems to me that's who the fans want. Maybe I'm nuts. I mean, who are they cheering for? Ambrose? Cesaro?
Ziggler?
Who else?
Ziggler,
not quite as much, but Ziggler, Owens, ironically, because even though he's a great heel,
Owens is like a full-time Brock Lesnar. Only
Owens is great.
It's fantastic.
But I think McMahon has a fetish for guys with muscles. I don't think he's ever going to give it to a fat guy, but Owens is awesome.
One question I want to ask both of you. And it's kind of Evan's point that he's mentioned a few times. Of the names that are in it, Kalisto's in it, Titus O'Neil's in it, which I get that they're at least trying to put him out there and make him or get people to notice him a little bit more. But at the same token, why the hell is Daniel Bryan not in this?
Supposedly,
is he not been cleared medically?
Yeah, but I mean, you lose all your baby faces. If he's been cleared by his doctors, wouldn't you go with it?
But has he been?
By his doctors, yes. By WWE, no. For whatever reason, WWE is scared to clear him.
WWE has no off season. They just keep going and going. The wrestlers are disposable. It's like a pimp disposing of an old hoe. The guy gets hurt, the guy has to retire, and that's it. There's always 50 guys to replace him. Why not just let Bryan sit it out for another 6 months or whatever and make 100% sure the guy's okay?
Yeah.
I mean, what's the rush? What's the rush?
John, I never anticipated a hoe pimp analogy to come out of this, but
he's not wrong.
Tonight.
You know what I didn't anticipate?
listen to Johnny Valiant talk about taking old wrestlers in the back and shooting them like an old horse. That's the analogy he makes. Okay.
You know what I did anticipate, Mark?
What?
That Evan would be the first one to swear on the show, and it's not me. And Evan, to your point, I wish that ringside seats were $125. Maybe they are for house shows. I haven't gone to a house show in 7 years. Would you like to know what ringside seats are costing at WrestleMania 32?
$2,360, I believe. Like that.
According to RazorGator, which is a cheap plug, but that's where I bought a lot of my tickets lately, including all the ones for my WrestleMania trip last year. Floor section, facing the hard camera, $16,182.
Well, that's the scalper's price. That's not the face value.
For StubHub, which in the same conversation, for the section across on the opposite side of the ring, facing the hard camera, what was it? I think it was like $14,900 on StubHub.
I believe the face value was $2,360. Yeah, you're talking the inflated, scalper's price. But regardless, as your ace guest correspondent, I'm assuming we're getting those $2,360 on your credit card. Like fifth row center, right? Isn't that what you would?
If I was a billionaire, we'd all be there.
Oh, okay. I guess
if I was a billionaire,
I guess that's a no.
Maybe next year we'll include that in your bonus, Evan.
Yeah, I guess I'll be watching it on my TV again this year.
Maybe.
Actually, I am probably going to be working WrestleCon. I had somebody discussing this with me the other day, so I might actually be there this year.
Hey, if you're speaking of pay, if you're going to pay for the trip, Evan, I'll tag along with you.
I didn't say that. They're paying for me. It's like a working holiday. But
you got to bring your apprentice with you.
Yeah. But these guys, when they're in New York and New Jersey, I don't bother. Can you imagine? I'll be flying 3,000 miles to this, so it should be interesting. I'll end up at the ROH shows. I know me.
If you're there though, telling you, at least try to hit up NXT.
My beef with NXT, and I know they're the darlings of the internet wrestling community. I thought it was absolutely disgraceful for them to run against Ring of Honor the same night in Brooklyn. It just rubbed me the wrong way, especially when ROH brought in all the great Japanese wrestlers, and all of a sudden, Liger's wrestling for WWE out of left field. It's like biting the hand that feeds them. They use ROH as a feeder system for all these great wrestlers like Rollins and Owens, who we keep mentioning, and all of a sudden they're running against them 365 days a year. That really irked me. And
they did that at WrestleMania weekend too. They didn't announce, and I think I said it last week on the show, they didn't announce the NXT show until like the Friday before or the Thursday before WrestleMania. And like it was either the day of or the day before that they announced that they were doing an NXT show. And Joel O'Brien tried to do both. He went to the Ring of Honor show, stayed there for half the show, and then flew back, not literally, to San Jose to go to the NXT show.
That's fairly insane. Why are you going to leave one show to go to another show? I mean, anyway, I would every single time, if they did that 1,000 times, I would support the little guy, go to ROH. But that's just me. I have a relationship with ROH. I brought them into The Wrestler, the movie, and that's what my loyalties are. And I happen to like the NXT product. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think it's very important that guys like Rhino and Rhino and Samoa Joe and guys like that who have been wrestling 15 years get seasoned and honed at NXT, but that's another story.
Absolutely. So, Evan, what's coming up this week on Legends TV?
Legends TV, we actually had some, we have some wrestling-related guests. We have Greg Klein, who's the author of King of New Orleans, about Mid-South Wrestling and Junkyard Dog in his heyday, which is a very interesting book if you ever get a chance to read it. It's back in the day, there was still a lot of racial tensions in that time period in the Deep South, and in spite of it all, Bill Watts decided to make the pre-WWE JYD, who was in shape and was a tremendous athlete at the time. Not a great wrestler, but an ex-footballer and a tremendous physique. And they decided to turn JYD into the man, and he was headlining the Superdome. The Superdome. Very interesting book, the politics and the racial tensions and the push that JYD got. Very interesting. Greg Klein, the author, he's on Legends TV this Saturday, and also some filmmakers and some indie wrestlers and colorful mix.
Awesome stuff. Sounds like a great time, and you guys can check that out on legendstvnyc.com and madhousetv.com. I think that's only the second time, Evan, since I'd known you that I didn't stumble on the websites.
I stumble on them all, so it's okay.
So I feel a little bit better now. And I'm not going to give you an exact timetable, but the host of Main Event Madness, John Curry, and if I can get him out of Canada, Mark Madison, maybe, who knows, we could pop into Legends TV one day.
Maybe.
Canada to New York is easy. I mean, I've been to Montreal.
I've got family. My sister lives in Long Island, so.
Oh, we tape in Long Island.
Okay.
So why don't you come down for like Thanksgiving or something, and then stick around? We tape on Saturday morning. No, seriously, well, I'm not kidding.
Well, we'll see what we can try and work out. I've got at the time, I guess she'll be about 14 to 16 weeks old, so it might make it a little more of a challenge. But John knows how hectic life can be for me too.
Absolutely.
You have a 16-week-old child, you said?
Well, she just turned 3 months today, so I'm thinking, it'll probably be around that point when you're looking at taping. So
I could interview her. That would make for great TV.
It really would.
Yeah. Johnny Carson used to do that. He would bring like babies on, and it always worked one way or the other. So anyway, I'm offering. No pressure. I mean, we're on every week. You could do it 2 years from now. Whatever's good for you.
And I think possibly you guys there?
Yeah.
Okay. It sounded like it cut out for a second. Let's look down. That's not a good thing. From hearing that sound, maybe it's time for a new sound mixer. I don't know. I think it'll definitely happen at some point. Maybe not that weekend. I don't want to speak for Mark, but I will speak for myself, Evan. It will happen at some point.
That's great. I think you should turn this into a TV show. Don Imus and guys like that, Howard Stern, they've taped their radio shows, and it just takes it to the next level. And if you guys had, colorful legends or indie wrestlers, in your studios, I think it makes for, an interesting and colorful show. It just takes it to a different place.
The cool thing about John and I is we've got lots of ideas, and I've already thrown a few things at him, and he's excited. So we're just going to continue to build on it. We do have some indie wrestlers that we're hoping to bring on too, and just encourage other promotions and just provide listeners with awareness of an alternative that's out there. And I think that makes for interesting listens too.
What I've done on my TV show is a lot of the indie wrestlers have other talents.
Mhm.
You know, they're actors, they're rappers, they're singers, they're beauty queens, etc., so on, and it gives it almost like an Ed Sullivan feel to it. You know, there's only so many times you could talk about an indie promotion that very few of the listeners or viewers have seen. So when they transcend wrestling, it just makes for a more eclectic show, and it's something you could consider in the future. I know indie wrestlers who are magicians, on weekends, and there's some very colorful, interesting indie wrestlers out there, and ditto with the legends. Some of the legends, have some interesting, sidelines and talents, and there's more to life than just wrestling. So, that's another direction that you could take a show in. We had a jam session. This was wild a couple of weeks ago on the show, and all of a sudden, one of the indie wrestlers whispers to me. He says, "I'm a dancer at a club." I had no idea. I said, "So get up and dance." So these guys are playing blues, and this guy's on stage dancing. And this other guy whispers to me, "I'm a rapper." I had no idea. I said, "Get up and rap." So all of a sudden, the rest was a part of the musical jam session.
Oh, that's great.
And it's so what I found with especially the legends is they've wined and dined with kings and queens. These guys. They'll tell you stories. Butcher Vachon wrestled in front of 100,000 people in India. These guys have been stomped on in riots. Johnny Valiant wrestled in Saudi Arabia 3 a.m. in front of oil sheiks. He looked in the crowd. There wasn't a woman there. Like some surreal experiences. But, you talk to some of these guys, and they're some of the most worldly people, the experiences they've had, and, sometimes it's just more interesting than, what happened on SmackDown on Thursday. You know what I'm saying? It's, so their radio is a blank canvas. TV is a blank canvas. All you know is you have a certain amount of minutes. And you fill it, you paint it any way that you really want to. And what I tell anybody, and I'm not lecturing you, believe me, but what I tell anybody is, do something completely different than what everybody else is doing. That's how you build an audience. That's how.
Like dead air.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if Mark was going to say anything. I didn't want to talk over him.
No problem. I just felt like it was a point to saying that.
I got so entrenched in listening to Evan.
It was like the "I Have a Dream" speech. It was like the "Ask not what you shall do for your country" speech by Kennedy. It was a 20-minute soliloquy there. So. But anyway, I'm just trying to be helpful, not to lecture.
We appreciate
anybody.
the advice, so thank you.
Absolutely.
I did radio for 16 years on a 50,000-watt New York City station, and my radio mentor, Fred Giabold, those are the exact who passed. Those are the exact words that he used. He said, "Radio is a blank canvas." So really, it's it's your choice. It's your choice, and experiment with it. Experiment. See what works.
Absolutely. And Evan, I want to say thank you for taking time out of your day. Glad you're feeling better. You sound a hell of a lot better than you did last week.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, much better. And one of my guests on my TV show the other day, her uncle is 114 years old and he's healthy.
Dear God.
His name is Fernando Lapallo.
What's the secret?
Lapallo. And basically, he He walks a mile every day, mile and a half. He's perfectly healthy, except he's a little hard of hearing, and he just eats, fanatically well, and that's how he's lived to 114. So I'm trying to follow in his footsteps, and I'm almost halfway there. So, what can I say?
Well, hopefully we'll see you when you are 114, sir.
Yeah, I'm going to be trashing WWE Raw when I'm 114, and
God, could you imagine Raw being around for
another 50
something years?
Imagine. Hey, it's been out there a long time, hasn't it?
Yeah, what's it? Almost 25 years now.
I mean, I think they claim to be the longest show in the world, but I think 60 Minutes and some other shows, have been out there longer. But
how the hell is it? How they worded this? What does Cole say? The longest running weekly episodic television program?
Maybe true.
I don't know. I think they try to word it to get around being compared to them. And I think, isn't the Today Show longer than that? Oh, the Today Show's not weekly.
The Today Show's been around forever. 60 Minutes has been around forever. The Simpsons have been around God knows how long. How long have The Simpsons been out there?
Almost 30.
Yeah, so it's amazing how they don't age. It's like No Mascaras with his mask. He never seems to age. You ever notice that?
Man, that mask looked the same as it did 30 years ago. What's the secret?
That's right. He's ageless. He's ageless. that guy's like 70 years old. He's still wrestling.
Him and Terry Funk.
Yeah, Terry Funk just wrestled Jerry Lawler. 70 years old. There were guys sitting around the senior center playing cards, and then there's Terry Funk.
He's retired 15 times.
Yeah, Terry Funk sort of changed the meaning of the word retirement. It means take a few months off.
I'll be back next week. Different character. I'll come back as Chainsaw Charlie.
I love that man. Anyway.
Alrighty, Evan. We will talk soon. Thank you for coming on tonight. It's fun as always, sir.
Thank you, guys.
Look forward to hopefully having you on next week.
Absolutely, and I'll have some interesting things to talk about next week. I'll leave it at that. I'll tell you offline what I'm up to, but you'll be impressed. Anyway,
kind of scared. Anyway. But all right, Evan, take care.
Thanks, guys. Bye bye.
Thanks, Evan.
And Mark, to answer your question, yes, I just realized the time. Nothing like going all over Facebook and Twitter while listening to Evan. I swear to God, I wasn't letting it go in one ear and out the other. I promise you, I was listening to him. If you want a full recital, I'm sorry I can't get that to you.
Not a problem.
But we had a few topics we were going to hit up. We can always touch on those next week. And would you like to reveal who they will be able to hear from next week?
Maybe before I do that, if I can get some shameless plugs of my own in.
You're the co-pilot, sir. Hit the switches. Go ahead.
So I've got a few interviews that have been released. Part of my writing archive on therichest.com. You can check out my writing archive there, and I have a few 10 burning questions interviews listed up there. The most recent was with Del the Patriot Wilkes, formerly of the WWE and WCW and AWA. I also had a chance to speak with the Ring of Honor's Rhett Titus, and that interview is up there as well. It's all transcribed. And most recently with the Pope, D'Angelo De Niro, or also known as Elijah Burke in TNA. That interview's up there along with a few list columns. So check that out if you get a chance to. You may disagree with the columns that are up there. And if you do, let me know. And if you don't, great too. Also, this week I'll have my weekly column up on tjrwrestling.net, which is run and operated by one John Canton, whose writing has been known for many years. He's great at what he does, and you'd be really pleased to check out his writing as well. And this week's column will be about the Roman Reigns, or what would be titled Obstacle to a Reigns. Again, it's kind of a play on words, and the challenges that Roman has faced. So you can check that out too. Also, so referring to what John was mentioning, what we will have, this past summer, I had the opportunity to interview Ring of Honor's own former TNA Knockout, but currently with Ring of Honor, ODB, Jessie Cressa. Really a lot of fun to talk to her. She sounds like she can kick my butt even right through the phone, so that was part of the fun in talking to her. And we will share with you that interview next week. So looking forward to that. So ODB will be on MEM. Look at that.
Awesome stuff, man. Looking forward to hearing from her and hear what she's got to say. She was always a riot to watch in TNA. Did not know she was in Ring of Honor. I got to brush up a little bit on that. But
yeah, well, the ODB, the B portion was standing for Briscoe, so she would accompany and support the Briscoe brothers to the ring. So she was One Dirty Briscoe, and that's what the B was for, represented in Ring of Honor. So she's still there.
Wasn't she one dirty bitch in TNA?
The Divas Revolution and her take on it, and maybe if Ring of Honor would try to develop their own women's division.
That's right, they don't have one. Wasn't she one dirty bitch in TNA?
Yeah, but they never actually said that. But it's funny, we talked about that moniker too. We talked about the ODB name and how, if you're a Wu-Tang Clan fan, so you'll check it out. I tried to hit a few different things up as well.
Looking forward to hearing from that. You guys will be able to check that out next week here on the show. And, of course, Evan Ginzburg will be back next week with us for another edition of Ginzburg's Gab. And if you guys missed any of tonight's show, or if you guys are just tuning in, or if you guys are listening on demand, I don't know why I mentioned that part. If you guys missed any of tonight's show, I'm thinking I'm doing an outro. VOCNation.com, as our guest said, and his podcast is airing as we speak. We have an encore presentation Fridays at 6 o'clock Eastern. You guys will be able to check out the show there as well. Also, wrestling-news.net streaming live, and memnetwork.wix.com/home. You guys will be able to check our show out. Working Progress, which will have a new episode next week. So, looking forward to hearing what those gentlemen have to say, and it's gonna be a little touch and go here. Going into Thanksgiving, not quite sure what we're gonna do show wise, but regardless, we will have something for you in some shape or form or fashion. You guys will hear from us that week. That is 100% guaranteed. So. But it's going to be a very hellacious week for me next week, Mark. I look forward to steering the ship right alongside you next week. Do it all over again. Kick more ass and reach new heights that we have yet to reach.
It's always fun working with John.
And likewise to you, sir. But for Rob Kellum, the mice, or Papa Meister, Papa Stro?
Papa Stro.
Papa Stro. See, I didn't forget.
That's all right.
Evan Ginzburg, Mark Madison. I am John Curry. This was Main Event Madness Radio. We thank you for taking the time out of your Wednesday nights to hopefully enjoy our show and listen to what we got to say. Listen to our banter, our mouths. I know you guys hate listening to me. I'm sorry. But have a great night. Have a great weekend. Or if you're like me, today's your Sunday. And Lord willing, we will have you back here with us next Wednesday night, like Mark said, with ODB. Follow me on Twitter at John MEM Radio. Follow Mark at TheMarkMadison. Wayne is at WN_net. Wrestling-news.net for your latest news. And, of course, to listen to us live streaming each and every Wednesday night at 8 o'clock Eastern. And MEMnetwork.com or .wix.com/home. You guys can get our archive there. We're heading out. It was fun. Have a great night, guys. Bye-bye.
Right.
The preceding broadcast was an MEM Network exclusive. If you missed a part or all of tonight's show, no problem. Head over to memnetwork.wix.com/home, and there's a complete archive for all of our shows. Also, you can catch an encore presentation Fridays at 6 p.m. Eastern on vocnation.com. Main Event Madness Radio. Madness Unleashed. Have a good one, everybody. So long.